Hi, and welcome to the 2018 St Mary's School Council meeting. With us today we have Miss Aisha Gurung, Miss Dee Yan, and myself, Miss Michaela Cornelisons. On the agenda today, we will be discussing a very important topic of sexuality education in religious schools, and whether this is something we want to incorporate into our own school curriculum. This is a very highly debated topic in the religious school community. It seems everyone has an opinion, but we have looked a little further into some research discussing the pros and cons of this subject area. So firstly, let's talk about how we all individually feel about sexuality education. Please introduce yourself and then state your opinion.
Hi, my name is Aisha. I personally feel that sexual education is so important for our kids. I think it should be compulsory as children are growing up much faster today compared to 20 years ago, no matter their religious beliefs. Children are exposed to sexual content earlier, and it is much easier these days as they have unlimited access to internet and all it entails.
Hi, my name is Dee. I completely agree with Aisha. Children are very easily influenced by the internet, especially children on social media platforms. We need to intervene earlier in order to teach them positively about this content.
My name is Michaela, and I really couldn't agree more. We need to teach them not only safety, but also what it means to have healthy sexual relationships, how to identify when these relationships are unhealthy, and really to understand their own bodies and how to respect them. If we're not the ones educating our students in a safe and supportive environment, we risk children being taught misconceptions and possibly incorrect information about everything involved in sexuality. So let's dive into some more research that we've found.
So, firstly, what exactly is sexuality education? Anne Hansen, who is the Minister of the Sexuality Education and Justice, has stated that people are often associated sexuality with sex, particularly sexual acts. However, sexuality includes so much more than that. It includes safety, intimacy, identity, health, and reproduction. Because sexuality is often used to influence, manipulate, and control others in ways that are harmful and destructive to the body and spirit. Most religions celebrate wholeness for whole people, including children, and most believe that sexuality is a gift of the divine. Many people of diverse culture, race, and religion believe that in order to provide an opportunity for wholeness, we must also provide information that will enable all people to make life-affirming decisions, and this includes providing comprehensive information about sexuality.
Does anyone know what sexual education is? Sexual education is the provision of information about bodily development, sex, sexuality, and relationships, along with skill building to help young people communicate about and make informed decisions regarding sex and their sexual health. Furthermore, relationship and sexuality is one of the 12 main points in the Health and Physical Education unit under the Victorian curriculum. This means that relationship and sexuality were collectively decided on as being important enough to be compulsory when educating children about their health. The aim of this point is to give students the knowledge, understanding, and skills that they need to conduct healthy and respectful relationships, to build positive practices, and to assist them in the understanding of sexual identities.
The World Health Organization, or WHO, which we know is a group that focuses on global health issues, states that young people need access to specific skill-based education in order to care for their sexual health. Young people must be able to make sound decisions about relationships and sexual intercourse and stand up for those decisions. They need to be able to deal with the pressures that surround unwanted sex or drug use. They have to recognise a situation which may turn risky or violent for them, know how and where to ask for help and support on these matters, and really they need to know how to negotiate protected sex and other forms of safe sex if they are ready for sexual relationships. These principles are also generally supported by education authorities in Australia. However, research also suggests that they are not being taught consistently to all Australian students.
Family Planning Victoria is a really good resource for schools to educate students. They come out to schools to promote the positive aspects of sexual relationship and sexual health. It can help teachers who may feel uncomfortable teaching this content. The staff from family planning are very experienced and has been provided service to the Victorian school community for over 40 years. There is a misconception that sexuality education only teaches students about reproduction and safe sexual practice, when in actuality, comprehensive sexuality education refers to K-12 programs that covers a broad range of the topic related to, firstly, human development, including reproduction, puberty, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Secondly, relationships, families, friendships, romantic relationships, and dating. Thirdly, personal skill, communication, negotiation, and decision making. Fourthly, sexual behavior, abstinence, and sexuality throughout life. Fifthly, sexual health, which includes sexually transmitted disease, contraception, and pregnancy. Lastly, society and culture, gender roles, diversity, and sexuality in the media.
So, some additional facts we have found. Current sexual health programs for Australian school students are also failing to address the needs of same-sex attraction and gender questioning in young people. Australian secondary students see school programs as some of the most useful sources of information about sexual health and relationships. They are the most popular source of knowledge for both young men and women. Sexuality education in Australia has been described as inconsistent and poorly resourced within the education departments, and feedback from teachers even indicate that there is a great variation in the teachers' knowledge about how to teach this subject matter.
I was doing some research, and the research indicates that young people's knowledge about STIs and how they are transmitted remains inadequate, even though teachers have usually covered bases of this subject. According to authors of Let's Talk About Sex, National Youth Survey 2002 states that Australians' young people are facing sexual health crisis, with 75% of all sexually transmitted infection (STIs) in Australia occurring amongst young people, and a 20% increase in the rate of STI diagnosed amongst people aged 15 to 29 in the past 3 years. We had a discussion with students about their opinion and experience with sexual education in school. A Catholic school attendee said, "My school did sex ed very Catholic way. They never explicitly said, don't have sex, but there was also no talk about condoms or birth control. They spoke about the risks associated with sex, but didn't go through how to avoid those risks."
Another quote we have is by a co-ed school attendee saying, "Sex ed is so super important, especially at this age. Skipping or skimming over it because it doesn't apply is ridiculous and damaging in my opinion."
We were told many times that abstinence is the only 100% effective method of contraception, which makes no sense in my head, especially when some girls has already engaged in unsafe acts. Abstinence is not contraception. This is said by all girls school attendee.
A co-ed school attendee said, "Sex education at my school, for the most part, taught as an afterthought, and when we were taught, it was from a very heterosexual point of view."
An all-girls school attendee said, "I remember feeling a little bit ripped off because our class happened to miss a whole bunch of sex education lessons due to excursions. It seems like they orchestrated complicated timetables to avoid teaching us some of these topics." Okay, so we have so far discussed our personal opinions and have stated some research on the matter. Now let's get some perspectives from outside our little circle. With us now, we're lucky to have School Principal of St. Francis Xavier College, Mrs. Rowland.
Hi, I'm a Health and Development Coordinator at my K-12 school. I speak for my entire school community when I say that sex education has no appropriate for our students to learn in the classroom. This discussion has no place in our health classes and are better suited to be taught in our religious education classes. After all, we are discussing our kids' morals and faith-based activities.
I understand as a Christian teacher myself, the topic of sex education has a lot to do with faith, but to say it has no place in health education is a little short-sighted. We are literally talking about growth, development, mental and physical health and safety. If anything, I think it deserves its place in health class.
Sorry, I can't agree with you. All matters of their inner development should be discussed with their family and in relation to their respective religious leaders. It's far too private to discuss with the teachers, who has no place in that discussion. Our teachers' only responsibility is to educate our students about intellectual matters that will assist our students in later life.
So you don't think that sexuality understanding will surface anywhere later in life?
Not outside their faith, no. Most of the health content taught in sexuality education is offensive to our religion. Plus, it costs a lot of money to implement sex education. We don't know if premarital sex rates will increase if sex education is taught to our students.
Even if those things are true, at least the students are being educated and can make informed decisions about their sexual health.
This shouldn't be a school concern anyway. Parents should be the ones to teach sex education. Why is the government getting involved and the school counselors? I would want to raise my child the way I want, not in the way that is being unanimously decided for me. And can I just say that in reality, sex education is offensive to our Christian beliefs. We are teaching our kids that it's okay to be in a gay relationship when it's no. Next thing you know, we will be teaching kids of the church that it's okay to get an abortion.
Okay, I think we might wrap this up because we're starting to get a little bit heated here. Thank you, Miss Rowland, for your time. Any closing statements?
Let me just close by saying that sex education is just like driver's education. It inevitably leads to a license for sexual activity.
Okay, so we're running out of time, so let's wrap this up.
Some really good points were made today, guys, and the whole point of today was to discuss how we as teachers are addressing sexual health in the classroom and for our students, and how we can better do so. My lovely assistant has been taking minutes of the meeting, and we will upload a more extensive summary to our dashboard. Thanks so much for coming out, everyone, and we will continue this discussion in the coming weeks.